Yes.
This is Explosion on the Power Station. The most famous person in Trinbago is not Brian Lara. I want you to know. Women love this fella more than Bungie. He's the only love Indian in TNT. He have a show called Explosion on the radio on the Wednesday and Friday. I'm telling you, I don't miss it at all. I always listen. I like the questions the people just be asking. Rash, I like to lick. Rash, you find
Good night, cuz.
Rash, me too small. Rash, I have none at all. Every time I enter, I just reach quick. Make y'all do like it in she back pocket. Boy, tell me what to do about this. Then Raj will tell them call the office. 645-4543. Guys, the number for you. 645-4543. Guys, the number for you. Long ago, the topic sex was taboo. People used to shame to say what they do. But since this sex talk show hit TNT, people expressing themselves openly. Nipples goes call and say what she doing. Rambo always want to know something. Sexy red females does make your push raise. Just tune on to this show one of these days. Rash, make y'all and me. Rash, we real kinky. Rash, she want to see. Jamming a next lady, you feel you could arrange this for me, because that is she fantasy. Raj boy, you feel you could arrange this? Then Raj go tell him, call me office. 645-4543. That's the number for you.
Pleasant good evening. Thank you for joining me on this live broadcast. Of course, you know, if you find I looking homely, it's because I am home. My wife told me, she said, you look like you're home, boy. I said, I'm not going to any radio station to do my program. I am home. I'm enjoying the ambience of my home. And at the same time, I'm inviting you to come and join me at home. Not physically, but through social media. Of course, we have Facebook and Instagram Live. So for those of you who want to join, partake, be part of the program, all you need to do is continue watching the program. And if you have any comments to make, if you have any things you want to add, or a message on Facebook directly to let me know what are your thoughts, what are the things that you would want to add to my discussion, or if there are things that you want me to expand upon. Because a lot of times I talk about things and I may superficially hit the subject matter, and because the information is here in my head, it needs to be pulled out. And I'll tell you why it needs to be pulled out. When a person has a lot of information about certain things, the more question that is asked of that individual, the more response you get from the person. So a lot of times I like to actually get questions. So like, for example, when I do a lecture, I would dedicate half of my lecture to actually lecturing, talking. But the other half of the lecture is normally response from the audience. The things that they're going to ask me about what I just spoke about, things that they may have at the back of their mind, things that they may want answered, but they never had the opportunity to ask the question to get the correct answer. And one of the things that I've learned over the years, there's no question that a person can ask that there's someone else who wants to ask that very same question. That's very important to note, and I'll tell you why it is important to note. Some persons are shy to ask a particular question. Some persons need the answer more than the person who is asking the question. Some persons are confused about a situation and they want clarity, saying what they want to say, asking a question. Some people feel that if I ask a question, I'll look stupid, or what would people think about me, or I don't want people to think that I know those things. But that's the way you learn. I remember in our university days, I would always engage the professors. I like engaging the professors about things that I did not understand and things that I wanted clarification on. And I don't think you could ever know everything. I don't think that you could be so knowledgeable that you cannot learn. Even at this age, I still learn about things that are sexual. I still learn from individuals about sexual situations and things that are affecting them, and new information that is coming about because of, well, of course, with COVID-19 and other things. There's a lot more information coming out that we weren't aware of prior to COVID. And I'm not talking about things of a sexual nature alone. I'm talking about generally. There's so much more that we need to understand about life. Now, on Wednesday, when I did my program, I spoke of the mind, the brain that we possess, the power of the brain, the strength of the brain, the largest sex organ that we possess, the brain, the things that could be conjured up in the mind of an individual, and the expression of that through the physical attributes of the individual. But let's get back to the mind, because a lot of people like that discussion. They told me so. They said that they like the way I put it across. They understand that, yes, the mind is a powerful tool. The mind of an individual is something that is very powerful, something that creates a lot of impact, not only on the person, but persons who may be interacting with the individual. It can also show others the knowledge base of the individual or the lack of knowledge. You know, there's a saying, it's better to somebody think that you're stupid than you open your mouth and prove that you're stupid. That's a fact. There are some persons, they may make a comment or on a conversation or on a profession that they know nothing about. I'll give you an example. Myself, I always use myself as an example because I don't want to use anyone else out there. My profession is sexology. Do you know that there are thousands of persons out there, hundreds and millions of people out there who don't know there's a subject called sexology? They don't know that there's a profession called sexologist. They don't understand that that is a serious business. And I'm talking about professionals in the health sector. Don't know that there's such a thing called a sexologist or a sex therapist. So, if professionals who are supposed to be professionals, you have studied to become someone, a professional in a particular area, but when you're studying to be an engineer, and I dare anybody to challenge me on this, if you're studying to be an engineer, you must do some studies on other aspects of life. You must do some chemistry, some physics, the difference between red and white wine. You must know that there are drugs that can get you high and drugs that can kill you. I was going to say something, but I just mashed my brakes because I don't want to divert my attention. But I'll get to that in a second. And you can't tell me you're studying to be a professional, let's say, for example, an accountant, and you never studied other aspects of life. Don't tell me that. You must do a bit of sociology, psychology, physiology, and all these kind of things. You must do that. Human sexuality. You must. It's 101. It's the first year of university. Tertiary education. Yet still, I know professionals out there who don't know that there's such a thing called a sexologist, or there are people who help people with sexual dysfunction. And some of them will meet me and they'll make a stupid joke like, I didn't know that was real. You for real? You serious? I'm talking about professionals, you know. Some people will be WhatsApping me, and when they see my status and they see my profession and whatnot, I didn't know that was a real thing. Well, educate yourself. If you didn't know that was a real thing, go look it up. Get an encyclopedia. Call a friend. Do a shout out. Because your neighbor might know there's a sexologist and he might be cleaning somebody's yard. And you, as a professional, don't even know there's such a thing as a sexologist. You see how small-minded we are? And that's the brain again. It's the brain. The brain of some individuals are so limited that they're just stupid. They're foolish. I come across them all the time. You'll find yourself in a surrounding with people and someone would make a stupid comment. Oh, he can't teach me nothing about sex. I know everything about sex. I could teach he. And I'm like, okay. Oh, sexology is not something real. They just make up that. That's a make-up word. I get this all the time, you know. I get this from professional people, from people supposed to be educated. I wouldn't say businessmen, but not all businessmen are educated in the ways of the world. They're educated in business. Some of them may have never gone to school. Well, that was in the past. Now, they're supposed to go to school. But I come across this all the time. And because of their indifference and their ignorance and their foolish ways, they try to make a joke out of it. They try to make a joke out of sexology and the study of sex and sexual behavior. And I just look at them and just nod my head and say, you one stupid fool. You have no way to get in life. And that's a fact. So when somebody texts me of something foolish like, oh, I didn't know that was an actual thing. I'm like, okay, if you're so dumb, that's your business. But we're talking about the mind and the limitless potential of the mind, the strength of the mind, the brain, the supercomputer that we possess that we only use about 10% of. That's why in time prior to this time, we think that we are modern, you know, but we are not. We think that we are modern, but we are not. We don't need to communicate by speaking to one another. And they didn't have cell phone. There were times on this earth, for those who know, not believe, those who know, there were individuals who did not need to eat food to survive. There were times on this earth when persons had the ability to be truthful and truthful only. It's called Satyug, the age of truth. So when we think that what we are going through now is the best of times and the most modern times, it's not. It's a cycle in the universe. So when your bit of soul, which we all possess, asks the super soul, which we call God, or the Paramatma, for life as we know it, to take a form to come upon this earth, the knowledge and everything there is there in that soul, you know. Don't doubt it, you know. But when you take a role, you take a role for a reason. So you get the gift of life, the greatest gift that can ever be given to anyone. That's why a birthday celebration is very important, you know. A birthday celebration is not about eating and drinking and merriment, you know. A birthday celebration is supposed to be you thanking the Lord for the opportunity to get that greatest gift that you have ever gotten, which is life. But we don't think about that. How many of you wake up in the morning and gift that no one else could have given you? So you have gotten this gift of life. with the knowledge, with the computer that every one of us have. But you know, we all have computers in our homes now. We all have smartphones that are computers, because the memories on some smartphone now never existed before with computers. And you are now in possession of life. Of course, you have your formative years as a child, a baby. A baby, when you see a baby born, a baby is cute, you know. Do you know why a baby is cute? A baby is cute for survival, you know. That's the only reason, you know. It smiles and laughs and cuddles and looks cute for survival. That's mode of survival. It wants you to like them so that you will take care of that baby. That's why the love you have for a child, you can't describe it. It's innate in us to love a child. It's good to love a child. You feel good. You don't have to smile. You want, yeah, a little gaga goo goo kind of thing. But that's the way it's supposed to be. But the child supercomputer is there, you know, with all the knowledge that it came with and all the knowledge that it needs to survive. So it knows that it has to smile. It knows that it has to look at you in a certain way. My grandson don't know I'm his grandfather, but he knows if he smiles with me in a particular way, he melts my heart. And he knows that. And your grandchild will know that. And your child will know that. Function of a baby is. But the baby grows up, become a young man or a young woman, write common entrance or SEA or whatever else you want to call it now, pass for a school, go to that school, do the examination after 5 years, do another 2 years, get another examination, and then move on to university. And all the while you're supposed to be like a sponge absorbing things. But the guy who goes into high school, not versed in mathematics or physics or biology or English language or history or anything like that, he may excel one day more than the guys who are doing A's right through their high school days. He or she may be the first one to come out with a degree. I'm talking about myself. There were guys in our school who were so brilliant, that if they walk into a dark room, it'll light up. I can call their names. And I remember one of the most brilliant guys that I went to school with. He must have gotten 7 or 8 subjects when he wrote GC. When I came back from university with my first degree, already intact in my back pocket, according to our late Prime Minister, he didn't start university yet. And he looked at me and he said, Raj, I wish I did, well, not Raj, he called me Giri. He said, Giri, I wish I did play the ass like you, boy. You have a degree already? I said, yeah. Now, I'm not telling students or children out there to go play the fool, you know. What I'm saying is that killer who you couldn't put a mathematical question to him without getting an answer from primary school all the way into high school. And what is he now? He's not a mathematician. He's not working in some institution where you need mathematics. He drives a car. He hustles on the side of the road, smokes his marijuana, drinks his alcohol, and that's it. See him, I buy a beer for him. How you going? Talk done. He's my friend, he's my schoolmate. So not everyone has the ability to succeed or excel in a particular area which they started off in high school. But they may excel in something else. We never, in our school days, we never learned mechanics. And I know one guy who went to school with me, he's a A-class mechanic. But that wasn't part of our subject at that time. It was either sciences or arts. Full stop. I remember I did sciences, and my first degree is in accounting. That had nothing to do with sciences. And sometimes when you're in a science class, you look down at the people who are doing arts. You see them not as bright as us. Well, me, I never care about who bright and who are bright, because that was never my thing. Because I understood that everybody has a role and function in life. I learned that from my grandfather. My grandfather never saw us. He used to say, but I never even see the school door. For us to go inside a school. I never saw the school door for us to go inside a school. My 3 or 4 or something like that. She wasn't allowed to go to high school. I wasn't allowed there, but she was the brain. So you don't judge people by that. Because the brain that you possess has all the capabilities of doing everything and anything. The brain can love. Some person will ask a question. Can you love 2 persons the same way at the same time? And the jealous ones out there, the guarded ones out there, the hypocritical ones out there will say, nah, you could only love 1 person at a time. If you love somebody else, that is against the good book. Crap. If you are telling me I possess this powerful computer in my brain, that is my brain, sorry. And that powerful computer is the most powerful computer on this earth that we understand. You want to tell me that computer can love 2 persons at the same time? Be desirous of 2 persons at the same time? Want to experience certain things in life with a person? You're telling me that? And I'm supposed to believe that? I'm supposed to say God in his infinite wisdom is stupid? He made me in a particular way to do certain things and whatnot, and I will kick God in his buttocks and say, here what? You're Eldotish, you know. I'm better than you. And that's what we do a lot of times, you know. We kick God. However you want to call him or her. Thank God I'm a Hindu because we believe in both. He's both male and female. He's both male and female. I'm saying he. Lord Shiva is both male and female. We're going into Navratri just now and then into Diwali. We rever that as Hindus, as practicing Hindus, as Sanatanists. So we know. And in that same book, something that we have, and we don't have 1 book. No Hindu have 1 book. If any Hindu tell you they have 1 book, well, something wrong with that Hindu. He might have 1 book. He could only afford 1 book. But they don't have 1 book. We know the power of the mind, the strength of the mind, the ability of the mind, the things that you can do, the infinite details of it, the beauty that lies in it. So you ask, how does it tie into sex? How does it tie into being a man or being a woman and having sexual wants and desire? Recently, I had a person come to me as a patient, and I talk about some of my patients, but I don't call names or anything like that, but I use it as a reference. Just as you go into the library in my days and you do your reference and your bibliography by pulling books and writing down certain things, and then you put a little quotation and you make sure that persons know that this came from another book, it's not your thought. That's what we used to do in research. Now people are just copy and paste. But we used to research. And if you copy something from a book and didn't put it as a bibliography, and didn't put the quotation and where it came from, you could get in trouble and you could fail a class. That's what we went through. Now it's cut and paste. Nobody has their own ideas anymore. You're not allowed to do that critical thinking anymore because it's easy to cut and paste. We cut and paste. We want our relationship to be like that relationship, but we're not working on doing anything about our relationship. We're looking at other people's relationships, other person's relationship, and not studying our own relationship. We want to be like a superstar who living in a particular way, watching them on television and trying to emulate their life, but you're earning 1% of their income. Because, you know why? You contributing to their income, they're not contributing a cent to your income. You see how foolish we are? Because we don't use this. All the time I've been on the air and whatnot, have you ever seen me with a designer shirt with a name across my chest like this? Have you ever seen that? And you will not see that. Because if one of those companies want me to advertise their product, they should give me a shirt free. I shouldn't pay for it. Think about it. Why would I have to wear something with a symbol of another company advertising their product and they're not advertising me? I am more powerful than him or her or that company. You are more powerful than that. Your mind is more powerful than that. You as an individual are more powerful than that. Don't be fooled by consumerism. Don't be fooled by material things. Don't be fooled by that. It's not the brand that makes you. You make the brand. The same thing with the relationship. Don't emulate somebody else's relationship. You see, they get married this week, they divorced. Emulate your parents who have gone through thick and thin, through good and bad, through hardship that you all don't even know about now. Recently, I like to give discourse to my workers and whatnot, the young ones especially, and tell them about the days when we couldn't have apples in Trinidad and grapes in Trinidad. And they're like, what? That never happened. I never hear my mother and father talking about that. But there was a time that you couldn't have that here. It was illegal. There was a time we had something called a negative list. I remember when I was going to school, there was only one type of shoes you could have wear, you know. Either that or a Bullerman slacks, full stop, nothing else. For those who don't know what is a Bullerman slacks, do the research. That was the name of the slacks. I'm not being disparaging to any sexual orientation. That was the name of the slacks. A sandal, plastic sandal. But if you wanted a shoe, there was only one type of shoe to buy. And then a local company came on the block and they started to make shoes also. You couldn't have any other shoe on your foot. As a matter of fact, because it was on the negative list, if a store was caught selling an imported shoe, they were fined. Do you all know that? But that's beside the point. Those are things that you must never forget. You must never forget slavery. Not only because of the bad that it has done to a race, but also to be reminded that we as human beings could do that to one another. We are capable of doing that to each other. You must never forget indentureship. Not under the same circumstances, but you came here, made here home. Here's home. And people are telling you, your brain is not good enough, my brain better than yours. Let me convert you. Let me change you. Let me make you believe this. And let me control your life. Because I remember, and this is a very serious story, a pastor came to me once, had a very serious sexual issue. Very serious. It took him 6 months to be cured of his problem. 6 months. So he sat in my office after the 6 months and he was telling me he's very thankful and whatnot. And then he started to tell me that he's a pastor at so-and-so place and whatnot. And he has an audience of so many hundreds of people every week. So he asked me if I had a Bible. Now my cousin, Mohan Narayan, you all may know him in Grandi as the preacher, gave me a Bible once. He's my cousin. I love him. And I took it. And I kept it in my office because my sister was married to a Christian. My first sister. I'm the eldest. My other sister is married to a Muslim. So I have the books, the Quran, the Bible, all those things in my office. And he asked me for the Bible if he could see it. I said, sure. And he took the Bible and he opened a passage and he started to read from it. And I was very thankful because I went to a Presbyterian school. So I understand what it is about. I grew up in that. So I don't discriminate against any religion. I understand that and I respect it. And I love it because I used to sing in the manse. I used to like to go and sing. And according to Gandhi, I love your Jesus, I love your Christ, but I don't like your Christians because they're not Christ-like. I love that. So he started to read, and he said, I want to thank you and I want to bless you. I said, well, thank you for your blessing. I appreciate that because that is something powerful coming from someone like you because you're a pastor. He said, well, how can I repay you? I said, no, you pay your fees and everything was done properly and you're better now, right? He said, yes. He said, no, but I want to repay you. Tell me how I can repay you. But you know, this brain of mine has clicked like that, you know. I said, aha, we'll catch him now. I said, well, hear what? Give me the opportunity to speak to your audience one Sunday. You know, the man tell me, no, I have them under control. He said, no, I can't do that. I have them under control. You can't come there and talk. I said, do you allow them to listen to my program? He said, no, I wouldn't allow that. I will tell them, don't listen to your program. I said, well, that's the hypocrisy which is in society. I remember meeting a young man who was the brother of a good friend of mine who I helped out in life. And he told me, he said, because of my religious upbringing and whatnot, I'm not supposed to know who you are. I'm not supposed to listen to you on the radio. I said, that's your choice. If God give you a brain and someone is telling you, don't listen to someone who is going to give you knowledge, by all means, don't listen. Don't listen. You become your own person or be controlled by someone else. That's all. If I go to a function and I hear the person who is lecturing or speaking starting to talk about controlling or trying to do things in a way, negativity about others and only positivity about himself or herself, I go on, you know. I switch off and I go on, you know. Same thing with television. If I'm looking at television, I see a show on a Sunday morning, a preaching show come on, I will listen to it. There's nothing wrong with that. Because your mind must be so strong that nobody could influence you to change your mind. But you must be embracing of everything. Knowledge is knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. Get knowledge from wherever you can. But if somebody is telling you, I will control your sex life and control who you like and how you like, getting back to that one point that I made, that you could only love one person at one time, that is total crap. Pure bullshit. That cannot be real. You're telling me I'm limiting my brain to one thing and one thing only. And in loving your partner, there are times that you feel a wave of love passing through your body for that person. And tomorrow, you see the very same person and you don't feel that wave. The phone rings. Some of you, your wife call you and your phone ringing and you're trembling, you wouldn't want to answer the phone. Because either you're doing something wrong or you're afraid of her. There's some persons like that. You must be able to be strong here to make your life happy. I think I kept it somewhere on my phone recently. There's a guy, some of you may know him. I hope I could find it. If you suffer, if you feel blissful, it is because of you. Nobody else is responsible, only you and you alone. You are your hell and you are your heaven too. That was one of the great sex teachers of our time, Osho. What he's saying there in simple words, which I've been saying for years, is, and not because I learned it from him, I decipher those things in my studies. Your mind is your powerful tool, but your mind could be your own weapon against you based on the type of relationship you have with yourself, your spouse, your loved one, your children, your parents. You know, recently I met someone, a guy, and he was describing his parents. And when he talked about his father, he said, well, me and my father don't get along so good. And my heart kind of break, boy, when I heard that. And this is a man who's very educated. But here you are describing your father, and in a negative way. You think I could do that about my father? The greatest man I know? Think I could do that? And I really felt sorry for the guy. I said, that's how you will describe your father, boy. Your father and you're supposed to have a loving relationship. That's the man who molded you, who was influential in some way or the other to have you where you are today. Yes, you'll be close to your mother. Everybody's close to their mother. I don't think be close to your father also. You must love your father the same way. Fathers sacrifice a lot, you know. A lot. Because the same father is also the lover of your mother, you know. And that same father will have to put things aside when you're sick because you want your mother to sleep with you, or you have to go and sleep with your mother, and your mother have to take care of you as a child. And that father will sacrifice and pull himself aside because he understands that. He may not like it, but he understands it. It impacts on his mind. I'm not justifying anything that anybody does, you know. I'm just giving you ideas so you can come up with your own formulation as to what happened in your relationship with your partner and why. And why. You see, a true father is not a true father simply by donating sperm, you know. A true father does everything possible for his children to succeed, you know. I have a good friend. You know, we have these events called Hump Day and Freaky Fridays and whatnot. It's a little bit of entertainment done in a controlled environment, a safe environment for people who want those things. They get in touch with me by WhatsApp and whatnot. And this friend is telling me, he said, you know, Raj, I want to come to the event, but because it's in the daytime and my children have it hard doing online classes and whatnot, I don't like to leave them during the day. And I understand that. Now I know what he likes. He likes the entertainment. But he's sacrificing his love for what he likes. For his children. That's what the love of a father does. And many more things. So when we come to the relationship between you and your spouse now, or you and your partner, you and your boyfriend, your girlfriend and whatnot. You know, I tell parents sometimes, I say, you as a parent would sacrifice time, energy, effort, money, sleep, everything that you could sacrifice to bring up your son or your daughter. And that son or daughter will fall in love with someone, and that person becomes more important to them than you. They will become more important than you. Despite the sacrifices that you have made, in your life to take care of your son or your daughter, to grow your family, to build your family, some guy is going to come and sweep your daughter off her feet and daddy no longer important or mommy no longer important. I know some of them could even make them chain up their head and say, boy, your mother and father, I like you, boy, I like you more than your mother and father, come and live with me. Some little girl and things just get fooled up with that now for now, you know. Your mother and father like you, they want you to go out, they want you to go and party. Well, now you can't party, but before. I love you more than your mother and father. Come and live with me. And after he fed up at you, he throw you out and you're going to look for somebody as stupid as you are. And we talk about love. But that mother and father will have 5 children, 2 children, 1 child, 6 children, 10 children, and they'll love all of them. And someone will say, well, you love my brother more than me. And they will tell you, honestly and truthfully, I cannot love anyone more than the other. I can't, I love both. But there'll be times that you will feel more affection towards one as opposed to the other because of circumstances or things that have played off. There are times that these things would happen. So when you tell a man or tell a woman, limit your brain into thinking that you could only love one man or one woman all your life. You could only care for one man or one woman all your life. Why demand that I am the only man in your life? You're being foolish. You are being foolish. The years that I've been doing Sexplosion have taught me, 20 years, have taught me a lot, have shown me so much. The years I've been a sexologist in Trinidad and Tobago, taking care of patients from all over the world, have taught me so much. I have seen love expressed in the tiniest way and in the biggest way you could imagine. I have seen love expressed by a look, just a simple look. And I've seen love expressed by the way a person behaves. Too extreme. A simple look and the way somebody behaves. I have seen that. I've heard persons' situations in their lives where they come across different things, challenges in their relationship. And the one thing that helps them to overcome those challenges that they face is the love that they share with their partner. And when I expressed on Wednesday that you can have all this love and all this caring and all these feelings, but if you don't have the cement that binds it together, which is sex, it falls apart eventually. The sexual part of it is important because the mind needs to be massaged. You need to F the mind, the brain. When you have sex, it's not the physical act, you know. It's the act that takes place inside of here, this theater that we have inside here. And if you start understanding the role and function of the brain when it comes to your sexual function, you'll understand how deep love and sex is. You'll understand the depth of this part of it when you get the brain engaged in your sexual activity with your spouse, with your lover, with others, with whoever you choose to do it with. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do and how to do it. I am here to tell you to concentrate on your mind. In Tantra, one of the aspects of Tantra which really drew me to it was that spiritual and physical connection. And the interplay between the physical and spiritual aspect of it. You could have two persons who are sit opposite each other, concentrate in a particular way, do their mantras and whatnot, and have sexual intercourse physically without touching each other, and go through all the feelings of sex and love and horniness and sweetness and niceness, but without touching each other. You could be in a deep spiritual realm of meditation, of jap, of yoga, and attain that height where you know that sexual bliss that you get when you're having an orgasm, orgasmic bliss, where you can experience that orgasmic bliss without being physical with your partner. And in Tantra, it allows you also to get into the physical realm like this. It is not only like that, but like this. Because you could intertwine yourself, wrap yourself around the other person, and the other person wrap themselves around you. And the sex, the physical aspect of the sex, the whole connection and correlation between you and the person is much stronger than having sex ordinarily. But you're engaging the brain. You're engaging the aspects of the brain or the parts of the brain or the pathway in your brain that was never touched before. The beauty of it is this. Once you start engaging that part of your brain that leads to that sexual bliss, that tantric part of your brain, it opens up more and more. And more of the spirituality comes out. And it's like, you know when something is foaming up? Long ago we used to take soap powder and mix it with water and it used to foam up. And when you have a little bit of soap powder in so much of water and you start to stir it up like this, and then the foam starts to grow and expand, and you take this foam and you blow it and it fly up in the air. That is the brain, you know. That is the expansion of the brain when it comes to the sexual part of you. It is not just that baseline of powder that you have at the bottom of the cup with the water, you know. No. The baseline that you have there is just the brain in its dormant stage. The water is the catalyst. And you mix the two with your hand. We used to do it with your hand like this and twirl it around, and then it starts to foam up. And when it foam up, you blow it. So from that one baseline, which is your brain dormant, the brain expands. It expands and it expands and it keeps on expanding. And it starts feeling the sweetness of life and the essence of life and how good it is to be in love and what you're feeling for your partner and the strength of it. The depth of your sexual being. When two persons engage in sexual intercourse, man and his penis, woman and his vagina, penis into the vagina, lips touching, you form that circle, you know, that circle of energy, the spine being the conduit, you know, the tongue, jib, connected to that, down to the lingam, penis, into the yoni, up the spine, back. The brain and the tongue is right there. There's a conduit. There's a circle. Kissing is an important part of sexual intercourse. Personal hygiene is an important part of sexual intercourse. Always remember that. Halitosis or bad breath is not a part of sexual intercourse. So get rid of it. Rum breath or ashtray breath is not part of sexual intercourse, so get rid of it. But it's that circle that you can connect to, taking this thing and making it into something much different. When I talk about sex and sexuality, I always do this when I do my lectures. Sex and sexuality and sexual behavior. You have in the middle here, straight as a pin. You never hear some people describe themselves as straight as a pin? You're straight as a pin because you never had the opportunity or you never was in a situation where you needed to be bi-curious or to enjoy something different. But we are not by nature straight as a pin. We have both male and female within us. Just as Lord Shiva is both male and female, you have male and female within you. Direct replica of God. And if you are a Shivite like I am, you will know I cannot be a replica of Lord Shiva and not have both male and female within me. Yin and yang. We have that. But the sexual part of it is what we are so afraid of. We are afraid of that sexual part of our being, you know, of our brain. We're afraid of it. We're not ready to embrace it, you know. Lots of times we make excuses for it. So on the extreme end you have gay, totally gay. No feelings for the opposite sex. But in between that, what do you have here? The person who is bisexual, right? And you still have areas here in between. On the other end, what do you have? You have other extremes. You have an extreme where you could be, you say, straight as a pin, but yet still you're curious. Yet still you're open-minded enough to accept the fact that there are other things out there. Don't put yourself in a bubble and tell yourself that there's only one way of this life. Just as there's many different races, many different animals, many different situations, many oceans and many rivers, but one water. Imagine that, eh? My grandfather used to say that, and Raj used to always say, I say, Raj, but beta come. He say, which river you like? Tell him a river. He said, well, I like this river. As little children, you know, that was his way of teaching us. All the waters in the world is one water. It ain't one by Vasa, but all the water in the world is connected. Whether it be sweet or salt water, they're all connected. All connected. Doesn't matter if you call it the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. No matter what name you put for it, is one body of water. All connected. It's the same thing with our brain, our understanding, our behavior. We're all connected. If you believe in that one God, that supreme being, we are all a spark of that supreme being. We are made in his or her image. So you cannot limit yourself in such a way to think that there's only one sexuality and one behavior and one way of doing things. No, cannot be. Just as you have many religions, all teaching one basic concept that there's something or somebody greater than you. They all teach that. Even the atheists believe that there's something greater than them. So once you could believe that, you know for a fact that there's something greater than you. So it's the same thing with your sexual being and your sexual self. It is not limited by what you put in a bubble and create a shell around and say this is what it is. It's only that and that alone. And what Dr. Raj says is crap. What anybody else says is foolish. What Osho says is dotishness. What Dr. Freud said. When I started off, I said God sent me here as a particular way. He sent me here as a Sanatanist Hindu in a Sanatanist Hindu home where I learned from both my grandparents, one on my father's side and two on my mother and father's side. My mother's side. And I learned from them. And they didn't waver and they didn't change. Why should I do that? So when somebody come and tell me, boy, change, I know better than that. There's something better than what you have. God is stupid. He made me who I am. He made me what I am. My education came with guidance from God. I knew from a pre-teenage years, I wanted to teach sex. I wanted to learn about sex. I knew that. And although I come from a Hindu Sanatanist home, where my grandfather was responsible for a temple on one side, and my other grandfather was responsible for another temple on the other side, where they constructed temples, where they were devotees all their lives, where my parents are the same way, I still pursue being a sexologist. It doesn't make my mother and father love me less. It didn't make my grandparents love me less. Some of my family members love me less, but that didn't matter to me. Because at the end of the day, they had to turn around, not me. I still love them the same way. It's like my cousin, the same cousin I tell you about, Mohanarayan. One day we had a Ramayana Yajna. For those of you who don't know what that is, a big celebration where you read the Ramayana for 7 nights, I think. We had it at the corner of Paul Street and Eastern Main Road, that big property there. That was my father's property. And my cousin came and he wouldn't come in the tent where the Ramayana was being held. And I went to him and I said, Mahesh, come inside now. He said, no. He said, I have something to tell you now. He said, what? He said, I changed my religion, you know. I said, hey, that's a good thing, man. I said, where you changed to? He said, a Christian. I said, very good, very good. I said, I have a question to ask you. You change your blood? He said, no. I said, well, you're still my cousin. Just don't be asked by me. And I still maintain that. He's still my cousin. I love him to death. But don't come with no stupidness by me. He's welcome to come in my house anytime. Don't come with no stupidness by me. I'll put you in your place. One time. Because I know where you come from. And I know where you are now. So, these are the things I tell people. I use these little anecdotes to show people the strength of your mind. My mind is very strong. My mind is powerful. I just be careful sometimes what I wish for. You know why? Because I'll get it. The Japanese have a saying, be careful what you wish for because you may get it. And that's a fact. Be careful what you wish for. Because the power of the mind, that anything that you conjure up in this mind could manifest itself. Beauty. If you see beauty, you're going to see beauty all the time. You walk out your door, the rain is falling, but you see the beauty in the rain. You won't say, oh God, rain falling, I go get wet. You say, boy, thank God for rain, boy, the farmers must be happy. And you'll run to your car, you'll get a little wet, so what? So what? Well, you say, I will get the cold. If you say you get any cold, you will get the cold. But if you have the strength and mind to know that you are powerful enough, I am Dr. Giriraj Ramnanan, better known as Dr. Raj. My businesses are Total Image in St. Augustine, Dr. Raj Adult Boutique throughout Trinidad. You can get me anytime, anywhere. My cell phone number is 7401961. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can come on Facebook. You can watch me on Instagram. And you can send a message to me at any time. 7401961. It's not the year of my birth. I'm born 1963. I must thank you very much for being in my home tonight. In our home. It's not my home. This is God's home. I just here temporarily. Thank you very much for being here with me tonight. And I want you to know that you are responsible for everything that happens to you. Good night.